Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Procrastinated Podcast, coming to you live from a park near Butler University's campus. This is going to be an interesting episode. I tried to film this episode about 5 minutes ago in my car, closer to campus, because I don't know what's going on in my life right now. I really have no idea. I don't know at all. And, yeah. As I was trying to film it in my car, I was honestly reasonably close to a panic attack, I think. So this is going to be a very interesting episode. I apologize if it's not entertaining, if you don't enjoy it or whatever. You can do whatever you want to. This is a free world, baby. So today I work an Indy Fever game. Professional sports. My first ever Indy Fever game ever. First ever. So, that's exciting. And I got a call. I got the email, obviously, about the call time when I have to be there and everything. And I thought it was at 2 o'clock. So I got down here at 2 o'clock. Got down here actually 15 minutes early. I was early for 2 o'clock call time. But when I showed up, I was told that my call time isn't until 5 p.m. So now I have like 2.5 hours to kill. Don't want to drive 30 minutes back to my brother's apartment. So I'm just chilling near Butler because I don't know what else to do. So, yeah. This week we're going to talk about 3 subjects. Me being lost and confused. Liverpool losing out on the quadruple. And the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500. So, I'm very confused right now. I graduated May 6th and 7th. And that's almost a month ago now, which is a crazy thing to think about, first of all. But since then, I've been doing a lot of work. Been working a lot of tournaments. I've mentioned that, I believe, in the past few episodes. I've been working a lot of tournaments. Been making money. May has been a good month for me, very much so. But as my work is coming to an end, kind of, or at least the busy part, because after today, after this Fever game, I don't really have much. I don't have any other broadcasts for another 10 days. I got to thinking, and I've been thinking now about like what's next for Matthew Stein. I know what's next. It's applying to jobs. It's talking to people. It's calling the people that I know. It's using my connections that I've already made to make more connections and spread my network as far as possible. But like, I just have so much anxiety in my body, so much stress in my body, so much nervosity, so much anxiousness is the same thing as anxiety. Like, I just can't calm down. I can't find myself. I can't reach a namaste place at all. And that's potentially for a number of reasons. I've been living with my brother for the past week or so, and his shower has been broken. And this seems like a silly thing, but I think it's something that has definitely began to weigh on me more. Because I can't shower there. I physically can't shower there. The shower does not work. It fundamentally does not work anymore. So, I'm a person that showers first thing in the morning every single day, pretty much. Not first thing in the morning, but first thing, like when I wake up, I typically shower, just because I need to start my day off on the right foot. I need to start off clean, and when I don't, I think it just weighs on me over time, potentially. And I don't want to blame this all on the shower because that's silly, but you gotta stay clean. And I have not been clean. Like right now, I have that feeling of like when you just haven't showered for a day or two and you're just kind of sticky. And I feel so dirty and unclean, and it's the most unpleasant feeling I know in the world. In order to avoid hopefully complaining too much on this episode, because that's not what this podcast is for. And what the fuck is this podcast for anyways? What am I sharing on this podcast? What are you gaining from this podcast? What are you learning from this podcast? The answer I realistically think is jack shit. I don't think anything is really gained from this podcast at all. I don't really know if it has any value to the world at all. And I don't even know if it has any value to my career at all. I don't even know if it's worth doing anymore. I don't have the energy. There are so many things going on in my head, people. I really want this Fever broadcast to get over with so I can go home. I would really like to go back to Wabash and back to Fort Wayne and just be home for a little bit. Yeah. Also, I mean, this is realistically, is probably the biggest issue that I have in my life right now. My car has been making a loud noise for the past like 3 days or so. And because I've been working, I haven't had a chance to really go get it like figured out or solved. So that's another tomorrow problem. So I think that's the thing that's really perpetuating the most of the stress, because car troubles are the worst thing in the world. I've had my fair share of car issues, whether it's my own fault or the car's fault or something else. They came and went, and I need to solve this problem, and I'm very terrified that it's going to be very expensive. Maybe my fault, maybe no fault of my own. I'm not totally sure, but it's a stressful situation, and the stress of my having to fix my car is then amplified or rebounded into the stress of being a college graduate and having to figure your life out. Like, I'm afforded this summertime, but I have to start moving in a positive direction soon, and like, how much time am I afforded to just chill around and do nothing? How much time am I afforded to have fun and live my own life and enjoy the free time that I have? How much time am I afforded to enjoy the summer as if it's summer? How much time am I supposed to give to do actually even in the job search, applying to jobs online, editing my resume, editing my cover letter? There's no guidelines here. There's no guidelines, and I know that, and I don't like it, because I feel like I almost need these guidelines to at least just direct me in the right direction. Or I think a real problem is, like, in school, I could look around me at my peers and I could see what they're doing and see where they're at and know that I was in a good spot, or I could know where I fit into the crowd, you know. But now that I've graduated and I don't have that, I don't know where I'm at. I have no idea where I'm at. I don't know. And I think this is a much different tone than last week's episode, when I was talking about my self-confidence of like, oh, I can do this shit. I can make things happen. I have people that believe in me. I have people that know people that believe in me. Like, man. I actually was thinking as I was sitting in my car earlier trying to film this podcast that, like, I just wish I could be back in college. Oh, wow. Man, oh man. It's crazy. Now for Liverpool FC. My club, Liverpool FC. They played in the Champions League final this last Sunday against Real Madrid, one of the most historied clubs in the history of the history. They have won 13 Champions League, now 14, as Liverpool fell short 1-0 in the Champions League final. I wasn't able to watch the game, unfortunately. I was working an Indy 11 game. That's how I got this nice old farmer's tan. Hell yeah. But it sounded like a Liverpool dominated game, but Madrid took their chances and ultimately won the Champions League. And now Liverpool, their season is over. They have won 2 of 4 possible trophies. And we're now in a place where you have to rate the season. How successful was the season? We won both domestic cups. We came 1 point short of the Premier League and 1 goal short of a Champions League. So how do you rate that season? I'm not sure. You won the 2 least important of the 4 trophies, but you won the domestic double, so you basically kind of dominated England in a way. But you didn't win in Europe. You got there despite having a favorable draw, playing teams like Porto, Villarreal, that are just not powerhouses of clubs necessarily, but in Inter Milan, they're just not European giants at the moment. They're good teams for sure, but they're not a threat to most teams in the world. So it's hard to judge exactly how successful the season was. And honestly, I gotta say, I think that Liverpool losing the Champions League has also played a factor into this chaos chaos mode that I'm in, this upset panic mode of sorts, because like I guess I just let Liverpool dictate my mood too much. Maybe that's what it is. Because I wanted them to win so badly. I would do anything to make that happen, to win them the game if I physically could. Anything possible in my power, but it just didn't happen. And after winning those 2 trophies and having the possibility of winning the quadruple, something that has never been done before, it feels like, okay, good job. Those trophies are cool. They're shiny. Nice. But what could have been was so much greater, so much more intense, groundbreaking, meaningful, historical, whatever dramatic word you want to put on there. It was so much bigger than the 2 trophies that it feels like the 2 trophies are, I don't want to say a letdown, but like a pat on the back. Just not a hurrah, just like a okay, like not as satisfying as I had hoped for. Now let's talk a little bit about motorsport. The Indy 500 also took place on Sunday, as did the ever so popular Monaco Grand Prix. Now, you all, I'm assuming, have heard of the Indy 500, but you may not have heard of the Monaco Grand Prix. So Formula One is basically European IndyCar. It's way better in every way, in my opinion, but the Monaco Grand Prix is equally as famous and popular as the Indy 500. But it's interesting because the Indy 500 is the largest live sporting event in the world. Whereas Monaco, it's a street circuit in Monaco, which is basically, I described it as like the Hong Kong of Italy. And it's like a gambling sort of safe haven. People with just oodles and oodles of money live there because I believe there's like little to no taxes, and it's just rich people. And the Monaco Grand Prix is iconic. It's truly iconic. You've probably seen pictures of it before, or you may have at least taken a glance at it and just not know what you were looking at. Monaco is a very peculiar track because it's very tight and narrow. It's very, there's not a lot of room to pass, especially as cars keep getting bigger and wider. It gets harder and harder to pass every single year at Monaco because of the ever-changing sport of racing, but the course or the track hasn't changed much. Qualifying is the most important part for the Monaco Grand Prix. It really is. It kind of decides how the race is going to go. And Ferrari, led by Charles Leclerc, a Monaco racer, and Carlos Sainz, locked out the front row, meaning they both qualified in first and second. Now, in the history of the Monaco Grand Prix, when a team has locked out the front row, they have always gone on to win the Grand Prix, the race. But that did not happen this year. Charles Leclerc was born in Monaco, raised in Monaco, and Monaco is his hometown. But yet, his luck in Monaco has been absolutely abysmal. He has, I believe in his last 5 Monaco races, has not finished, which is crazy. I mean, you may not understand what this exactly means, but you only race in Monaco once a year. And so for the past 5 years, Charles Leclerc has failed to finish in his home race, despite multiple times being in a favorable position to win, especially this year. This year, he fell short because of some team decisions. The race strategy just not worked the way they wanted to. It was kind of a mess. So it did not work out well for Charles Leclerc, and he did not get that elusive victory that he has been chasing for so long in what may have been his best chance yet. Sergio Perez, the Mexican Red Bull racer or driver, won the Grand Prix, going from 4th position to 1st, which is pretty incredible. And he won his first ever Monaco Grand Prix. So, what am I saying? Now let's move over to the Indy 500. The winner of the Indy 500 was a Swedish driver in Marcus Ericsson. Now, keeping in mind Charles Leclerc, the Monaco driver, they have a relationship. They have a tie that some people may not know about. Back, I want to say 5 years ago, before Charles Leclerc signed for Ferrari, he drove for a team called Sauber, Honda Sauber. I can't remember the full name was, but the name was Sauber, and his teammate happened to be Marcus Ericsson, who won the Indy 500 this year. typically when you lose your seat in Formula One, you kind of fall out of the sport. It's kind of hard to get back in unless you get a good opportunity. And Marcus Ericsson is one of those people where I hope his name is Marcus. It's going to be really embarrassing if it's not. I'm just keep saying it. But Ericsson, he lost his seat when Charles Leclerc moved to another team, and the Sauber team, I think, folded or changed their name or rebranded, something like that. And for a lot of people in Europe, Formula One is the pinnacle. It's the best of the best. It's the absolute top of the mountain when it comes to motorsport, when it comes to racing. And it's sort of seen as the end-all, be-all, the goal. And if you're not there, it's not that you fell short, but you just aren't at the top of your game, and it's just not as perfect, I guess we'll say. But Ericsson had a very interesting journey, despite being dropped from Formula One and being not cast out from the sport, but being dropped out of the sport. He found his way over to IndyCar, which a lot of people do. Formula One drivers do, because there's only 20 Formula One drivers in the world. Therefore, it's very cutthroat, and you have to be an incredibly good driver to make it in the first place. So for him to get dropped from Formula One and maybe dropped from his dream, if you will, to then go to IndyCar and then to go to Indianapolis and to win the Indy 500, that is a feat alone in itself. And depending on who you ask, they might say that's a bigger feat than just staying in Formula One and just being like a mid-table driver who's not really competing for any wins or anything, because the Indy 500 is known worldwide. It honestly surprised me, being a person from Indiana, how massive the Indy 500 is. So many people know about it. So many people care about it. So many people watch it. So many people go to it. 400,000 people are there live and in person. There's literally a concert that goes on inside of the racetrack, and those people in that concert basically don't even know the race is going on. But there's headliners there. There's major artists that go to this Snake Pit Festival during the race, which is pretty remarkable. I just like the dichotomy between Marcus Ericsson, I'm going to say that's his name, winning the Indy 500 after being cast out from Formula One, and at the same time when Charles Leclerc got his launch into Formula One more so, to drive for Ferrari, one of the most historied teams in Formula One. He's in Monaco in his home Grand Prix, a race that he has had bad luck in the past. He has been given the best possible opportunity to win the race with having a front row lockout with his teammate Carlos Sainz, and it still doesn't pan out for him. He does not win, and he ultimately finished like 14th or something like that. Just a major failure from the Red Bull, or the Formula, a major failure from the Ferrari team. I want to say I feel bad for Charles Leclerc, but his misery is somewhat entertaining, and it's kind of funny that he just fails to deliver every single time. Or not even fails to deliver. This one wasn't even really his fault. It was more team directions that cost him the victory. But win some and lose some, I guess. I am very glad that I decided to get out of my car and come to this park and sit in the shade and film this podcast, because I was freaking out about 20 minutes ago. Freaking out, sweating, feeling gross, feeling down on my luck, feeling out of sorts. And I literally just said earlier in this podcast that I don't even know if I should keep doing it, but as I'm finishing this episode, it's showing me why I should keep doing it. People may not watch it. It may not add crazy benefit to people's life. It may not grow people's minds. It may not change the game of podcasts. It may not even make me money, because it doesn't. But it's good for me. I enjoy it. I don't enjoy the stress it causes me or the complications it can add to my schedule, but I do enjoy the feeling of spewing information and getting it out there and acting as if it has some importance and acting as if it does make an impact, or as if my viewers are truly engaged in it. And I say my viewers, but I feel like most of you are probably me or my friends or my friends' parents. Like, oh boy. There are a lot of things going on in my life right now. I'm very stressed out. There are not attacks, but angles from multiple different ways that are coming at me, and it's a challenge. Being a postgraduate is a challenge, because I have no freaking clue what I'm supposed to do or what I can do, what I should do. But I'm figuring it out, I guess. I have people in my life that can help me out and are willing to help me out, so that's good. Unfortunately, I don't have a consistent working shower, and that is my biggest problem at the current moment. I need a consistent working shower. So with that being said, I'm going to end this week's episode of the Procrastinating Podcast here. It's going to have very little to no editing this week. I apologize, but I don't. Life is chaotic. I almost missed this week's episode, and at one point thought I shouldn't even upload this week, but I should. I should keep doing it. So, with that, I'm going to end this week's episode of the Procrastinating Podcast. I have been your host, Matthew B. Stein. You have been fantastic as always, of course. And I'll see you in next week's episode of the Procrastinating Podcast. Hopefully a little more upbeat, a little more put together, and a better place than I am now. Because that's what this podcast, I think, is ultimately about, is growth. The difference between Matthew Stein and Jr. to now is crazy. And the difference between Matthew now and in a year is also going to be crazy. A lot of growing is needed. Not only needed, but has to be done. And you can force growth, sometimes you can't, but ultimately it will happen. I think nature will take its course and I will grow in due time. Unfortunately, maybe not quick enough, but we roll with it. So now, the episode is over. I'm going to now contact my friends and see who is in the greater Butler area that can offer me a shower. Hopefully this goes well. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next week.